And so, the first soul awakes in the new world. Sure, I'm alone right now, but that will soon be changing. As for the first time, we hop into the wonderful world of UnGrounded. But first things first, we gotta get our way out of the suitcase. So, as with any other grounded playthrough, we make our way out into the bright sun to see this wonderful landscape that will soon be changed in ways that we can only now imagine. This place is going to undergo a bit of a transformation. I mean, you can already see it now with my little bit of destructive nature going through. But this place isn't going to look the same for long. We have a bunch of people coming in who are going to not lay havoc, but definitely change the landscape around us. But of course, we have to start somewhere. So we make our way to the field station, kill this aphid because it existed in our face. And we of course need to scan our items. Now, if you haven't played Grounded, what this does is it gives us access to recipes, so we can actually craft things, and we can make our way further in the game. So, of course, that's what I do. I scan through a couple of items until we can make our way to the first real point of interest in this game. The mysterious machine. This is a device by Dr. Wendell Tully that is what shrunk us originally. And as you can see there on the box, it is in fact actually called the spacer, but to actually fully turn it on, we have to make our way to this one over here, kill a couple of mites, and hopefully do so with relative ease. That's at least what I hoped would happen at the start. But as you can see, things did not exactly go according to plan. But luckily, after a few attempts and a lot of hardship, I was able to make it here into this room, which I'm not exactly sure why it exists wholly. But I'm here nonetheless, and it means I won, even though I can't get anything here except for the scabby skin. So, time to make my way back out and see what the surface holds now. Here we make our way back to the spacer and begin to turn it on. And as you can see, this is the end of Grounded. It's a pretty easy game. But as you can see right now, we're going back to full size. Oh, that's not good. Well, it looks like it isn't quite as easy as we may have thought. So, of course, we have to make our way to that kind of signal there, and here we are, in the Oak Lab, the first major lab of the game. I did go ahead and do this before anyone else logged on, but that's because there's not really much to do in this lab, other than come say hi to our friendly neighborhood robot, Burgle, who's right there on the floor. So, of course, we have to begin waking him up, getting him back into working order so that we can start using him for all the things we'll need later. Burgle will become quite the asset to us, especially as the game progresses and we get more of his chips that he will of course need to reboot his memory and get us more stuff from the science shop. As you can see there, I just picked up raw science, which unfortunately in UnGrounded is going to become a bit of a scarce resource. While science isn't necessarily a limited resource, it's relatively hard to renew. And with so many people on this world duplicating and using the raw science to buy things in Burgle's shop, we're going to run out of the resource pretty quickly. So that's something you always have to keep in mind as we continue to make our way here and logging into the first ASL terminal. This thing will allow us to get a lot of important things later. It'll allow us to open a number of doors. It will allow us into the ASL terminal. As you can see, it turned on there, even though I brushed kind of past it. It will allow us to buy a number of very useful things. One of the biggest things for us, though, is zip lines, which will allow us to traverse the map. But that is in the hedge lab, which we will be tackling later in the video. So, of course, we open up this door here to see the secrets that may lay within, and other than some raw science, there's nothing much here that we can get right now. There is that log there in the Mega McMuller, which we will have to come back for once we get ourselves a tier 2 hammer. Of course, now we can make our way up and out of Burgle's place, of course, after robbing him a little bit. And here we are going to get some more mutations. If you didn't know, down through this water cave here, you can find a 4-leaf clover. This will get you the coup de grace mutation, which will give you increased critical strike chance. This is good not only for me, but also for the rest of the server, giving us a little more offensive capability. And it's a pretty easy find and pretty early game to get. And it is our first mutation. As you can see, we didn't have any others. But other than the rare resources that are down in this cave, that's all we really needed to come here for. So, of course, we make our way back up through the water tunnel. And now it's time to tackle something new. So now it's time to make improvements to the little bit of a base I already have. Over here by the juice box is where I am putting my base, at least for the time being. As you can see, I already have this little thing set up here. But I want to build a little more in the water this time, because I'm so used to building around the juice box. I mean, it's a very good location. You can get free juice from the box, which is always a perk, but I really want to put it in the pond itself. But for now, we got to get started. Get some stuffed mounts, because later in this series, I plan on building a museum of sorts where we can have every single stuffed creature so that people can just go there and get their loot luck for whatever they're farming. That way we can speed up the process of actually farming for the resources we need, and of course just make everybody's life more enjoyable. But speaking of resources we need, there is a build I always like to make, and of course I am making it now, is the Clover Roof aphid farm. If you've seen it before, great, then I don't have to explain it to you. But to people that haven't seen it before, there is a certain farm that has been developed, I forget by who, but they had created... So, after a little bit of work, it is now time to talk about what we're doing here. We're having quite the silly interaction with a diving bell spider here. Hi little guy, what you doing there? I don't think you're supposed to be up here. But as you can see, I was gathering berries. I was doing that for, of course, my acorn armor, which was the first armor set I will be getting in this series, but it certainly won't be the last. But now with my new armor and my weapon in hand, I have at least enough power to take down this Orb Weaver Jr., even though I'm still struggling just a little bit. Of course, I do need to remember that I can't pause the game whenever I exit back into my inventory. I got a little too used to that from playing single player, but it's all good, because we can easily take on and kill this Orb Weaver spider here, although I cut it a little too close. Now, I believe, is the perfect time to go ahead and get our first auxiliary chip for this challenge. If you didn't know, there are a number of chips you can give the Burgle. There are the super chips, which are the 4 main quest chips, and there are the auxiliary chips, which are in either smaller lab locations or just out somewhere on the map. Luckily, I did know where the Red Ant Hill chip was, so I went, explored the Red Ant Hill a little bit, and finally picked up the chip. Now we can go ahead and take the chip that we just got from the Red Ant Hill and bring it to Burgle himself, see what it unlocks, and get ourselves some new things in the ASL terminal. So here we go, giving him the chip. Nice little 1,000 raw science. Now we can head over to the shop once more and see a bunch of things that we unlock. These will all be useful in some kind of way, but fiber bandage efficiency and canteen upgrade are definitely on the top of the priority list for us, because it will allow us to craft some very necessary resources a lot easier and keep our vitals at the maximum they can be. So here, I'm trying to set up a grinder, but this wolf spider was not having it and decided to invade my small little base. But luckily, on this server, we do have the handy gnat function enabled, so we can very easily sneak by him. And with a bit more difficulty, we can go ahead, set up our grinder. Now, this does bring up an interesting point. When I place this, it does let me use a bit of materials to actually go ahead and build this, but does that mean we can use the handy gnat to maybe do some more interesting things? It might even make setting up bases in the oak tree easier. We'll have to see as that goes on. But as you can see, these wolf spiders are invading my base a little bit, so I'll have to wait them out until I can make any more progress. And here we have it. The first build of UnGrounded done. Of course, it still is a little low to the ground, but hey, I think it'll still work. Of course, we do have to put the feeding platform here in the middle. That's gonna be the next step. But we've done it. I think the next step is, of course, building ourselves a little base of operations so we're not just out here in the middle of nowhere. But first, we did a little raid on the hedge lab. So now, I think I got some explaining to do. So today, as of the Wednesday the 2nd of July, I planned on going live, doing the hedge lab. It was going to be a fun little thing that we did a bit of a hedge lab raid, and I did it. I hit the start streaming button, but there was an update on OBS recently that I was not aware of. Apparently, you had to actually hit go live and start streaming, or start streaming and go live. Both separate buttons that you have to click separate occasions for no real reason. So, of course, we have unfortunately lost a decent amount of footage of us actually doing the hedge lab raid. But to prove that we did in fact do it, here's the chip. Handing it over to Burgle. It's kind of sad that we couldn't actually do what we wanted to do. But hey, that's kind of the learning experience with doing content such as this. You know, I've never done this before. So, you know, first episode kind of ended on a downer note. But it's a learning experience. So, here we have Burgle. The location of every other super ship. The hedge... Hey, Burgle. We already have the chip. Oh yeah, you already made it through the hedge. Nice. So yeah, we do, of course, now have Burgly Boy up and running. And we do have zip lines, finally. So, of course, next episode, we will be taking a dive into the zipline world and start building ourselves a bit of a zipline transportation hub. So, with that, I'll see you in the next episode of UnGrounded.